still chasing fire through the years half slow. Weights on my back, sweat in my eyes. Old man's fight never says die. Old man on the mat, still standing tall. One more round, yeah, I've heard it all. Grip the edge, don't let it slip. Strength in the soul, strength in the grip.
Hey, Old Man on the Mat crew. This is Tony Jones coming into another great episode of Old Man on the Mat. Guys, once again, thank you for all the support. Thank you for everything you guys are doing for us. You're buying the merch over there at oldmanonthemat.com, flying off the shelves. Get them while they're hot. Get them while they're hot. Get them while they're hot. But guys, I am fired up about the guest we have today. This girl has done some of everything. I would consider her, I don't know, kind of a badass. You know what I mean? So, slow it down, fellas. She'll kill you. But anyway, this young lady over here, young, all right. She's a second-degree black belt in Kali Salat and Jeet Kune Do. She's world-renowned. She's out there. She's recognized in the United States and internationally through the Kali Association. The girl is good. She's also a part of the Pew Pew community. I love it. I love it. I love it. And she's a great, great, great dog trainer, guys. So with that, I give you Miss Tiffany Trixtr. How are you doing, girl?
I'm great. I have no complaints on this and happy to be here.
Happy to be here, right? I always say no one listens when we start complaining anyway, so why do it? Why do it,
I
man?
know. At least it better be interesting if you're going to make a complaint. I'm just saying.
Right? Right?
Mhm.
Let me calm down, put my beer down, and let's talk. What's your complaint?
My next response would be, do you want me to tell you alphabetically or chronologically?
There you go. I have all day.
Yes.
And you also you're a trainer over the instructor over at the Power Academy in Austin, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Now, I'm going to jump into this because one thing, like I was telling you before, that I think that everyone likes to know the backstory. And I know me personally, when I do my reading and whatever I'm talking to somebody, I want to know their story because we see where they are. How'd you get involved with all this stuff? You're into shooting. You're into, that's the colleague. Because I seen you do it. What I found you was doing all these blades and knives and all that cool stuff. So how'd you get started all that stuff?
Oh man. Well, so I'm originally from Houston, but I've lived in Austin twice. This time I'm staying for good, and I've been here for almost 10 years now. And I moved back here on the tail end of a bad breakup. And this part of the story is important because before I'd moved out here, I sat and just felt sorry for myself for a solid 9 months, just like not not living my life in a way that was healthy or productive just because I was so hurt. And finally, I pulled my head out of my ass and I was like, you know what? Like, he's moved on. He's with somebody else. Time for me to like pour all that energy back into myself. And so I moved back to Austin. I have family here. And I was like, you know what? I'm also just going to focus on doing only the things in my life that like breathe life into me. So that meant same thing with my career. Like I'd been a paralegal. I put together mitigation books, subpoenas, helping clients, doing voir dire with attorneys. So I had an adult job, 401k,
Adult job.
medical. Yeah, I did all that, and I was good
Yeah.
at it, but it was not what my calling was. You know what I mean?
I
So
get it.
when I moved back here, I was like, I'm gonna do what I'm actually interested in. I remember my mom was like, "You're not going to make any money doing that." I was like, I don't give a shit. I'd rather fail at doing something I love than continue to be successful at doing things that are soul sucking to me, So I'm
Got
going to
it.
do something
Got
different.
it.
So I started doing dog training, and about 3 months in, I learned how to balance my macros. I was going to the gym. When I moved out here, I was like 89 pounds soaking wet. I was underweight
Wow.
and malnourished, and just I had to get my life back on track. And so I started gaining weight, started getting fit, and something felt like it was still missing. Even though I was doing dog training, that was super healing for me, and I was still working out. And I was like, I want to do something that's going to make me feel safe again. So I
Yeah.
was like, let me look up and see if there's martial arts in my area. I always had a long-standing curiosity about it, but of course never
Yeah.
followed through on it.
Yeah.
So I looked up and I found the Para Academy, and I found Tuhan Ray. And, he said, come try a class for free. I tried the JKD class first, loved it. And he said, come back and try the Kali class. And I'm like, what's that? Stick fighting, some kind of primitive caveman art. I was so ignorant. I had no idea what he was talking about. And and then to add insult to injury, I'm left-handed, and everybody's right-handed. So now now you're going to teach me all this with my non-dominant side, my dork
Oh
side, my
man.
dumb side. But, the truth
Yeah.
was I fell in love with it. I was like, I suck at this. I had no prior experience, but I believed. I was like, if I stick with this, just like with dog training, small successive approximations towards a goal, I could maybe get good at this.
Yeah.
And so I stuck with it, and here we are. That was 9 years ago.
Oh man. You started, so like you said, you had an adult job. I love that. Adult
Yeah.
job. And then you just left all that and started doing dog training. And let's back up to that first. How is dog training? Is that hard? Can you see all these people, these classes on how to train your dog? You see all over YouTube, all over Instagram. Is it really difficult to train your dog? Is it rewarding? Is it tough? Is it all that stuff?
Yeah, so I'm a pet dog trainer, and I showcase a lot of what I do on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll show some tutorials, and I'll have people. I don't mind showing them some of the techniques, my methodology, because they'll look at it and like, oh, it looks simple. And then they'll go try it and they're like, this is
Yeah.
fucking hard. And they'll
Yeah,
call
it is.
me, because they're like, you make it look so easy. And it's like, well, just because something looks simple doesn't necessarily mean that it is easy. It's just I've been driving dogs a
Yeah.
long time. So at this point, I've developed a level of proficiency. So the answer is yes and no. It's very simple,
Mhm.
but it also takes an understanding on helping to like read the body language cues, understanding,
Okay.
um, how to build a behavior in a dog. Like what motivates the dog? Are you going to be using
Okay.
food or a toy? So a lot of it's simple, and like once you understand, it's bop 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 bop. But when you get
All
to
right.
like behavior modification and stuff like that, when you're taking care of like problematic behaviors, that becomes a little bit more challenging because you have to understand psychology of the dog, and you probably want to have a professional, because if you're dealing with something like resource guarding, like aggression,
Yeah.
you don't want to try and manage that yourself. It's better to have a professional come in. But most of the other stuff is pretty simple. I would say that one of the biggest things I hear clients when they call, they'll be like, my dog definitely knows, you know, I tell him to come. I know he knows that. And he'll like look at me across the yard. I'll tell him to come, and he'll just look at me and then go back to doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. I'm like, well, what do you do when he blows you off? And they're like, nothing. I'm like, so basically you're telling me that you're teaching your dog that there is no consequence for noncompliance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it'd be like. You have a sports car, and I, Tiffany, the police officer, pull you over for speeding. And I familiarize you, Tony, with the speed limit law. And I'm like, you can drive your sports car and do all the fun things that entails, but I need you to stay in compliance with the speed limit command. And you're like, cool, got it. So I stop the behavior that is you speeding, and I redirect you back to the road. No ticket. This is what most people
Right.
do with their dogs. And
Ah.
then 5 minutes later, I pull you over again for
Yeah.
speeding. And you're
Yeah.
going faster this time. And I yell and stomp my feet, and I'm like, no, you can't do that, just like we do in our dogs. But again,
Yeah.
stop the behavior, redirect you back to doing something I'd prefer you do, no ticket. And then 10 minutes later, I pull you over again for speeding, but this time you've sideswiped a vehicle. And this goes on and on.
Ah.
Where's the motivation on your end to stop speeding if there's no
That's
you
right.
know,
Keep doing it.
there's no consequence, right? Because me
No,
just
that's
yelling
right.
and stomping my feet is not going to be enough to affect for behavior change. So in
Yeah.
effect, dog training owners or dog owners haven't written their dogs proverbial speeding tickets, right? But you
Okay.
want to be fair
Okay.
first, teach them what you want first, make sure they can demonstrate that back. And once they
Okay.
can, now you can start putting them into controlled failure scenarios where they have historically made
Yeah.
wrong choices. And this is where you'd want to
Okay.
follow through and write those proverbial speeding tickets. So now it's
Okay.
fair because you've given the dog all the information for the first time. Because when we withhold no from them, or like wrong, try again,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're withholding 50% of reality from them. So how are they supposed to make informed decisions?
Got it. Got it. All right. So it's like kids. I think that's what's wrong with a lot of the children nowadays. A lot of that generation, they're out there stomping their feet and crying for everything and whining about everything. I think we
Mm-hmm.
need some dog trainers out there, man. Just
Operant and classical conditioning works on all animals,
ah,
including us. Mm-hmm.
right. They
Yeah,
say we're top of the food chain, but I don't believe it anymore. I'm saying
I
what's
don't
going
know
on.
about that.
Oh man. Well, something I heard before. I don't know. I don't know if heard it. I read it. That if your dog's acting up and you start yelling at your dog, the dog doesn't listen because he thinks you're part of the pack and you're like barking louder at him. Is that right or something like that? So he starts barking back and your dog will.
I think it's probably context contingent. If your dog doesn't buy into the idea that you're in charge, you're the leader, that that there's intention. Like when you say something, it means something to your dog. If it
Uh,
does, your dog, and if you're like, they're gonna go ooh, and they're gonna get quiet. But if you're
uh,
just pals with your dog and they don't feel like you're somebody that they can follow, they can kind of just go do their own thing, then they're probably gonna think you're just participating and playing with them.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay, man, I got so much knowledge in that. I don't have a dog now, but I have a friend of mine whose daughter's in Ohio, and she wants to start doing dog training and all
Hmm.
that. So she's out there now. I think she's taking courses now, and she's getting ready for that. And I was just thinking, that's a big tell, man. That's a big thing to do. I don't know, man, because dogs, wow, they can be aggressive, they can be, your friend, and they can tear your head off too. So I don't know,
Hmm. They
man.
can. I mean, it's legitimately. It's been such a rewarding thing, being able to go in and I do things a little bit differently than most dog trainers. Like a lot of them do board and trains,
Okay.
and then the dog goes home with the trainer and builds the relationship with them, and then they go back home to the same emotional patterning they left with. So then these people wind
Mm,
up with well-trained dogs who are badly behaved because the owner did not go through the training process with the dog. So
gotcha, gotcha.
yeah. So I
Ah,
sidestep that. I go to my client's home and I walk them through the entire process, start to finish. And I teach them how their dog thinks, learns, communicates. They go through the messy middle with the dog, and that builds the
yeah.
relationship. You hear that bell? That's my dog telling me I need to go to the bathroom.
Oh.
All
And you
right,
have to
buddy.
stay on that schedule, right? Is that right?
Hey,
Because
but
they're on the schedule
but
and they're
I
trained.
trained him so that
Yeah,
I could offload that responsibility, right? so
right.
that he so he can have more freedom, and it frees up my time more because now I don't have to sit there and monitor.
Okay. Your dog lets you know, hey, I gotta go. And you gotta follow up
Yes.
with them. That's pretty
Yes.
cool, man. Now, do you train a certain size dog or a certain type of dog? Because
Oh, I have trained all sizes. I've trained, I think the smallest one I trained was a little chihuahua named Cupcake. She was about this big, little chihuahua. And then the largest, I've trained King Corsos.
wow.
And then recently I trained Stewie, who is a Great Dane, and he is the same weight as me. He's 120 pounds. And normally I
Wow.
can get most dogs to walk between my legs. And I can't do that with him, even on my tippy toes. Like I'll just tip over. He's so tall. He's so big. So it doesn't really
Wow.
matter. Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. I don't
Hmm.
know, man. I just because I see these, and I used to go when I was lived in Illinois. I would run at night. That was my thing. I like to get out and run at night. And I remember running. This lady, she had this big. Well, I say lady. Lady's probably like 21, 22 years old, and she had this big dog. Just, I mean, I don't know what it was, but it was like this huge dog. And I'm running. So I give them that wide berth. You got a dog. I'm giving you a wide berth, but the dog is just trying to get at me and is dragging this poor little girl across the just. And I'm like, what do you do?
Mm.
Is it certain dogs for certain people? Like these,
Well,
some people
yes.
shouldn't have such a big dog. I was thinking, how are you going to control that dog if he comes at me?
Yeah, no, you make a very a really valid point. I mean, a lot of people that have called me, they wind up, oh, I got a Malinois mixed with a German Shepherd. I'm like, please tell me you didn't get this dog just because you thought it was like two cool breeds. And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's my first dog. I'm like,
Oh
well,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
you're you're probably fucked, because it's gonna eat a hole through your house.
yeah.
Like
Oh
those,
man.
there are just some dogs. There's a reason they're in the military and the police force. They have to
Yeah.
have that outlet. They have to have that structure, and I relate to it because I'm the same way. I'm not the kind of I'm not like a basset hound. I just want to hang out and play and then take a nap. I'm
Yeah.
very like go go go. I like to do
Yeah.
all these things and have outlets and like a Malinois, a border collie, a shepherd. Those dogs are the same. So if they're mismatched with a person who's laid back, doesn't really go to the gym, wants to hang out at
Yeah.
home, play video games or whatever. That's a Malinois is probably not a good pairing for a person like that. So, and
Gotcha.
and then size is important too. Now, that can be overcome through training. I mean, like I said, I'm 5'3", 120 pounds, and I can control larger dogs. But but that is because of the relationship that I built with them, and then using
Hmm.
training tools. So this way I don't have to use muscle. I'd rather
Yeah.
use like an electronic collar and teach them that, hey, this means the same thing as the leash. They just feel different, right? So I
Gotcha.
don't always use the
Gotcha.
leash for punitive purposes. I use it as a communication device for normal stuff. Come sit down,
Yeah.
play heel. Same thing with the remote collar. Same thing, it just prompts them, but they have to first understand the leash. Then I can layer the remote collar stimulation on top of that so that the dog learns like, these things are turning on and turning off at the same time. So it means the
Yeah.
same thing, they just feel different. And then I can phase the leash out entirely so the dog can be off leash. Because once they
Right.
understand, oh my God, my fairy dog mother has the ability to touch me and talk to me, even though there's no leash in her hand that I'm connected to, and I'm way over here on the other side of the yard, she can still touch me, the game changes.
Wow. Wow. It takes a lot. I'm just listening to all this stuff and I'm thinking, this just not a biscuit and sit down? You know, but the dog, the
Well, it
dog's
starts
perfect
with
now.
that.
Oh
It
my gosh.
Yeah, it starts
Man.
with that. Yeah.
Okay. So is it just you got into this because you just love dogs? Is that was the process for you to get
I
involved
grew
in
up
that?
I grew up in a family of dog trainers, my uncle and
Okay.
two aunts, so I was just immersed in it from a really young age. I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house. My aunt lived with them when I was younger, and every time I would go visit, she'd always have like kennels and tons of dogs over
Oh,
there. Plus, she had four of her own, so I was
yeah.
always eye level hanging out. And it's interesting now looking back on it. She probably imprinted on me because I spent so
Oh
much
yeah.
time with her.
Yeah.
I grew up and ended up emulating that. So
Yeah.
it was always a common thread in my life. But
Yeah.
I had to take a couple of detours, do the adult job thing for a while.
That's funny. I live on that. Let me say that adult jobs. I had an
Yeah.
adult job.
I mean, it's cool, but it
Yeah.
wasn't for me. I'd rather be outside. I'd rather be working with
Yeah.
people, moving my body, and working with animals, you know?
Let's jump to another subject here. You mentioned that you and I tell everyone, hey, you tell me as much as you want us what you want us to know about you, right? Don't I if you say nah, I don't want to talk about that, don't talk about it. We go to something else. We'll talk about other stuff. But you mentioned that you had a breakup and you were basically depressed in essence for about 9 months, basically setback, right?
Yeah.
Now, how did it because I think that's important nowadays because I look and I have this conversation with friends all the time that we have so many we're inundated with therapists out there in this world now, but we have more and more mental problems out there. I don't know what the causation is. I don't know what it is, but that's the way I look at it. My question is, how did you get to that point where you said, you know what? This is enough. I
Mm.
need to pull myself out of this. And what was the steps that you took?
Oh man. I think it was one of those things where the pain of staying the same, I'm probably going to say this wrong, outweighed the pain of change. So it hurt more to stay the same than to change. I
No, you said that
realized
right.
I was going to be in pain and I wasn't
Yeah.
getting something from that. So
Yeah.
I figured I'm already in pain, I should get a reward from it. And this is not a viable coping strategy anymore. If I was supposed to be together with this person, we would be, and we
Yeah.
were not. So
Yeah.
I came to a place where I accepted that. And I remember when I first moved back to Austin, sitting in my room and just feeling still shitty and thinking like, how did I end up here? And getting a response back from my intuition saying like, well, why don't you see what the fuck you're actually made of, now that you're not
There
in a
you go.
relationship? Because man,
Yeah.
the energy of a heartbreak channeled correctly is huge. It's really, really
Yeah.
constructive, can be,
Oh yeah.
and the other thing was I didn't want I didn't want to derive my sense of self feeling like a victim, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, pity me, poor me. I didn't want that. I've never wanted to have that be part of my identity and who I am. And when I had that inkling, that little voice in my head say, like, why don't you see what you're actually made of? I didn't know what that meant, but I was willing to follow it and see where it led me. I was going to try something totally different. And in fact, when I started training with Ray, I think I'd been there maybe like 4 months, and I came over there one day, and I was super excited. And he goes, "What are you so jazzed up about?" And I said, "Well, I quit my job. I'm going to go all in and start my dog training company." And I remember seeing his face. He was smiling, and then like all the blood left his face. His face turned white, and joy turned to fear, and he was like, this
Yeah.
is crazy. He's like, why don't you go back and work, and that can fund your little side hustle. I'm like, I don't want it to be a side hustle. I need to jump in with both feet, or I'm not going to do it if I have a plan B. And he said, well,
Yeah.
Tiffany, this is nuts. This is like jumping out of a plane without a parachute. And I said, but I'm building the parachute on the way down.
There you go. I love that.
And I did. I
Love it.
built the parachute on the way down, and I've been successfully training dogs here now for, almost a decade.
Wow.
I have such a wonderful community that's grown up around me. I have so many clients that are still in my life. They board their dogs with me when they travel, and so much
Yeah.
word of mouth with clients. I'm really, really blessed that it went the way that it did.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is cool. And I tell you, that's a story that everybody can get a part of because you didn't have that safety net, that
No.
plan B. I love that. So you had to make it work, right? That's pretty
Yes.
cool. That is
Yes.
pretty cool.
It's it's the adapt or die mentality. Now, not everything in life needs to be like that severe, but I wanted change in my life, I was tired of dealing with the same shit, having I wanted to reinvent myself into a person that I could be proud of. And if
Oh,
you would have
yeah.
told me 10 years ago, hey, you're going to become, a ninja and have your own little dog training company, I would have
Yeah.
laughed because at the place
Yeah.
I started, it didn't look like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But everyone looks at where we are now. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
they say, well, I can't do this. I can't do that. Or this is impossible. And, I don't want to sound like a book or anything, but it is impossible if you don't believe you can. You have to take those steps. And you went out there and just said, jumped off the cliff and said, good luck all the way down.
Yes. Well, and it wasn't without its challenges, but they were challenges that I welcomed.
Yeah.
I didn't have somebody teaching me how to be a successful entrepreneur. A lot of it I had to be responsible. I had to be disciplined, and martial arts became kind of a cornerstone of that. It
Yeah.
it taught me to be disciplined and structured, and dog training taught me how to break things down into small little steps towards building towards a goal. So really, what I was doing as a profession was the formula that fit into all the other arenas of my life.
You should write a book now.
Oh, I mean, I suppose I could, but I haven't really thought about doing that.
That's pretty cool, though. I just think that drive you have, and I think if we all had that kind of drive, if most people had the drive, we wouldn't have half the, I won't say half, but quite a few issues we have today that we see a lot of people having all these issues because they're stuck. I think a lot of people are stuck, but they're afraid to take that jump to something
Hmm.
new, take that jump to what they really love in life, and you've conquered it. Congratulations, girl. You've done it. That's pretty cool. And I'm sure you're going bigger now, right?
Well, as I was mentioning earlier, I built my first website last night, and I didn't think I
Yeah.
could do that either, but the guy that was my tech person before, he was like, "Tiffany, you need to scrap your old dog training website. It's archaic, it's old, it needs to be
Yeah.
updated." And he's like, "Build a new one." And I'm like, "I don't know how to do that." He's, "Yes, you do." And he pointed me in the right direction, and I tried it. And the other thing is, if you fail, so what? It's
Boom.
feedback. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It means
Yeah.
you found a way that didn't work. I love that story about Edison with the light bulb. I think he
Yeah.
tried like 10,000 times
1,000
and he
times. It was
failed,
crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
and he was asked
Yeah.
about that. Didn't you feel like a failure after failing 199 times? And he said, no, I just found 9,999 ways it didn't work. And what a beautiful way to look at something.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. So you're big into reading also, I can tell, some of these things and
Yes.
these motivational. I wish I showed you my stack over. Like I'm always going through these motivational and positive imaging books and because we are I just think I don't want to get all hokey and spiritual on you, but I would think we're successful beings and we're teaching ourselves how to fail. We just need to keep that success mindset going. You know what I mean? By
Hmm.
just pushing through, girl. Now,
Hmm.
when you walked into martial arts, we're bouncing everywhere now. When you walked on the mat, were you nervous the first time? Even though you wanted to do it, you said, "Hey, I'm going to do this," but were you nervous? Were you like, I don't know?
I would say that there were a little bit of nerves there in the beginning. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, the the extent of my martial arts knowledge and exposure was, martial arts movies and Cobra Kai, Bruce Lee and Van Damme movies. So I was like, am I fixing to walk into Bloodsport and get the shit kicked out of me? Like I didn't know. But that was not the case. When I walked in, I was greeted by warm faces. They made me feel like I was already home.
Yeah.
And they they took their time. They never got frustrated with me as a beginner, and they laughed. Oh my God, I loved that so much. I know that there's a lot
Yeah.
of schools that are real serious and they'll get
Oh
pissed
yeah.
off at you if you're like, no laughing. But we're
Oh
not
yeah.
like that at the Power Academy. We're a really tight knit, close family group, and we enjoy having fun. You learn better when you're having a good time. And that was my experience. I was really fortunate to have wound up out of all the schools, in Austin. I wound up at Tuhan Ray's, and now he's stuck with me. He'll never get rid of me.
Poor guy. Poor
I
guy.
know. I know. Poor him.
Have you thought about doing any other martial art also to add to that?
So I've studied a little bit with his son Jeff teaches Muay Thai and
Okay.
BJJ,
Yeah.
so I did that for a little while. And then Tuhan Ray focused on doing the JKD and the Kali, and really I just felt myself leaning towards those two things more. It's interesting because I the JKD brought me, but I stayed for the Kali. I wanted to come and learn to do striking and kicking, and I did a lot of sparring. Um, but once I started learning, when you put blades in my hand, I was like, oh, this feels
This feels good.
natural. This feels natural. Something about
Yeah.
it just really clicked for me. So, and just the fact that he fostered my growth. He didn't think like, well, shit, she's left-handed and has no
Yeah.
experience. This girl's not gonna make it. I became obsessed, Tony. Like when I went home, I didn't even own a pair of sticks until after I did my first test. And
Oh,
I
wow.
sent him a I sent him a video at home. I'd broken some branches off of a tree, okay, and scraped
Man.
the twigs off because I didn't have collie sticks. And so I was practicing doing this one drill called Heaven Six, where you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I had these four
Okay.
foot branches, and I had the video sitting on the ground, and I'm sending in a video. I'm like, does this look right? The angles look right? And he messages me back and goes, are those branches? I'm like, I don't have any sticks. I'm trying to train. So when I tell you I became and like I fell in love with it, I didn't give a shit that I was gonna have to try and improvise. But I truly believe it was that feeling of like I can make it work. I'm gonna try that pushed me to be successful, and I still feel like I have so much to learn. Like martial arts is so cool. You'll I will never outgrow it, and thank God for that, but it will always grow me, you know.
That's good, man. Have you ever thought about? Do you think as your journey goes with the martial arts, do you ever think you might be interested in doing something else? And when I started as a young kid in martial arts, Kodokan Jiu-Jitsu, my instructor believed that there was always every art has holes in it, right? Everything has holes. Everything. He said, find ones that's your base. In my life, it was Kodokan Jiu-Jitsu was my base. And as he said, when you get a higher rank, then you start adding other arts to fill those holes. So, do you ever think that you'll look for other arts to fill some of the holes that's in college?
I'm definitely not against it. I feel like I get exposed to, learning elements of like Wing Chun, Kung Fu interests me, Judo interests me, aspects of different disciplines that catches my eye that I'm interested in, even, Silat. There's still so much that I haven't gotten to learn yet and unpack that I can see would make me more formidable if I understood more of those elements that I don't yet. So yeah, I know I agree. I'm open to it. I'm lucky because Tuhan Ray has a very JKD approach to the
Okay.
disciplines. And
Yeah.
Bruce Lee said, "Take what's useful, discard what is not, make it uniquely your
Yeah.
own." And
Yeah.
that's the way that I was trained. So a lot of systems are like, "No, don't you dare, cross train like that. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
disrespectful." And
Yeah.
that's just not the vibe with us. I think that it's important. You should be able to do that. I mean, if you want to be good with a blade, you should study boxing, right?
Yeah.
Like your jab, cross, hook, that with a blade, those things are right in alignment with each other. And you'll start to
Okay.
see like how all the dots connect up and like one thing sponsors the other into this
Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful circle, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Have you ever had to use your any of your martial arts for self defense at all? Anything?
Yes. Uh I would say the scariest one was I was about 6 months into training. And I was asked to meet this guy that I knew over at a hotel. He would come into town from Houston to visit his kids, and baby's
Yeah.
mama lived over here. And he said, "Hey, I have a letter I want to read to you. It's an apology. I have some things I want to apologize to you for being, a
Uh,
douchebag." And so I said, "All right, I'll come over, as long as this is not like some ploy to try and
Yeah.
try and be slick." And he's like,
Yeah.
"It's not." So I go over there. Of course, there's no letter. So I go to
Oh,
leave.
jeez. Yeah.
And he starts throwing a temper tantrum and tossing things around the hotel room. And I'm making my way to the door. And he runs and he gets in front of it and he blocks it. And so I reached for
Oh,
the door handle. He
yeah.
tried to grab my arm by the wrist and I pulled it away and said, "Don't touch me."
Yeah.
Reached back in. He grabbed my wrist. And so I grabbed his wrist and then threw him into an outside wrist lock. Took him to his
Hey,
knees.
there you go.
And he was like, "Oh, you're hurting me." I'm like, "Get the fuck out of my way," and threw him to the side and was able to get out and leave. Now, the story doesn't end there. I was walking down the hall to leave, and you know how those hotel doors are loud? They click open and shut.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
hear
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I was almost to the end of the hallway to go down the staircase, the emergency stairwell, and I hear the door click open. I see him, and he sees me, and he starts running at me. So I'm like, shit.
Wow.
So I start running down the stairs, make it to the parking lot, and I had a push start engine at the time with
Yeah.
the vehicle that I
Yeah.
had. Now, what made this kind of unique was when I turned it on, the engine, the doors would lock 5 seconds after I turn it on, just as a safety feature, so nobody can get
Oh,
in your
wow.
car and drive
Yeah.
away. So I'm
Yeah.
running, trying to time the distance
Oh,
to
man.
turn it on because I know I have 5 second window to open the door and get in before the door's locked. Otherwise, I'm going to have to unlock it manually and open the door. So I'm running, turn the car on, and I timed it just right. I opened the door and dove in and shut the door, and the door's locked behind me, and he jumped on my
Wow.
vehicle. So now I'm in the
Wow.
car. Yeah.
Holy cow.
And now I'm safe, right? Like base. And he jumps onto the hood and he's hanging on like a little spider monkey. I'm like, "Get off of my car, you're going for a ride."
Oh,
Mhm.
my gosh.
I know. This was wild. But anyway, he said, "You wouldn't dare." I'm like, "Oh, I wouldn't." I put it in drive, drove straight, cut the wheel, hit the brakes, and he shot off the side and I left. But that was
Oh,
the only
my gosh.
time.
That was
It
a
was an
big time.
outside
Oh, my
wrist lock.
gosh.
Yeah. But honestly,
Wow.
those basics, like simple stuff like being able to get out with like wrist locks,
Yeah.
finger locks, the simple stuff like that I think everybody should know because even at
Oh,
six
yeah.
months I had the wherewithal to be able to apply that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's surprising that you did because most people panic. And when they panic, they just freeze. And you can't freeze. You have to do
Yes.
something. Man,
hmm
he's lucky you weren't carrying. Were you carrying at the time?
I was not carrying at the time. I didn't start carrying until the second altercation. No, this was the
Oh, my
third.
gosh.
There's
Oh,
another
gosh.
situation. uh, then the rest of the people I did not know personally. It was just one person that I knew that did
Okay.
that. Um,
Yeah.
the second time I was leaving the grocery store, and it was the night before the very first women's self-defense seminar I was going to help Tuhan Ray teach. I was really excited. We'd
Wow.
ordered these Kubotans to give out to the girls, and he gave
Oh,
me one
yeah.
before
Yeah.
I left. And I put it on my keychain and I stuck it in my front pocket of my leather jacket that night. So it was holding
Yeah.
my keys hanging out of the front pocket, but you couldn't see the Kubaton. And I
Yeah.
was leaving, walked out onto the pavement, the sidewalk. You know how HEB or like grocery stores have those automatic doors?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
my pit was with me, Eros, and he had
Okay.
his service dog gear on. And we walked out of those doors, not even into the parking lot yet. We're still on the sidewalk. And there's a homeless guy, and he says, "Oh, is that a pit?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he is." And so the guy proceeds to try and tell me a story about a dog. And the next thing I know, Eros, my pit, starts growling. And he's a sweetheart. So for him to
He know.
growl,
Yeah.
something is wrong. So I turned to look to see what he's growling at. And the guy's like, "Wait, I have to finish telling you the story." He was trying to hold my attention forward. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Kubaton comes out. I tell him not to move, and I turn around, and this huge man is about 3 feet from me, shitting his pants
Uh-huh.
because my pit's like, "Rah," like about
Yeah.
to end him. So what was happening was this guy distracts me, this guy jumps me or mugs
Seen
me.
that.
It was like
Yep.
this
Yep.
cahoots situation.
Yeah.
So there was that.
Wow.
So that ended with me telling both of them at the top of my lungs that I was not the one.
Yeah.
Chop them up and feed them to my dog, and they both ran.
Oh my
So,
gosh, man.
but
Girl.
the last one was a guy who was really methed out, jumped over the perimeter wall of my condo complex, and I was out with my collie sticks and training blades, and I was going to just go
Yeah.
practice, and my dogs were running around in this field. And this crackhead jumps over, brandishing a machete, and he
What?
ran. Yes, I cannot make
Oh,
this up. This
oh
happened.
my gosh.
Now, at the time I was carrying, but I took it off because I'm like, I'm in my house. This is my
Uh,
neighborhood.
man,
Stupid.
yeah.
Mistake. That was the
Yeah.
biggest mistake ever because I used
Yeah.
to tease Tu on Ray. I'm like, when am I ever gonna be carrying my sticks on me? Well, I
Mm-hmm.
was, but stick versus live blade, no thank you.
Yeah, right, right.
So
Wow. What
fortunately,
happened? It just, oh man.
yeah. So, that situation, he ran at me, stopped about 10, 15 feet short, and my pit runs up. And if I had to add language to the expression on his face, it
Yeah.
would have said, he would have said, Mom, is there a problem? I was like, no,
Yeah.
no. So I didn't want him
Oh
to get hurt.
man. Right, get cut or anything. Wow.
So
Man.
I know. So I called him and my border collie to heel, and we were actually able to exit stage left.
Yeah.
He was really messed up, and it seemed to me that he had second thoughts about wanting to hurt me. So he had turned
Yeah.
around and started slashing at this tree like an animal who's
Oh,
afraid.
praise God, he got off of you. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
like I like posturing, like I don't want to hurt you, but go
Yeah.
away kind of energy.
Yeah.
So I got away,
Wow.
moved out of that place a week later, and thankfully,
You were
you know,
gone. Oh my gosh. I
yeah,
don't blame you. Man.
yeah. After
Girl.
that, I started carrying a firearm every day since. Never again. Mm-mm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I even carry around, I even carry around the house. And people used to say that,
Yeah.
have buddies we talk to, they'll come over and I'd be like, putting on changing guns out or whatever it is. They, why are you carrying around your house? I'm like, hey, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? I used to tell my kids, my daughters, and because you run these women's self defense seminars, and I tell them, I said, hey, don't ever feel stupid or awkward or weird for doing whatever it takes to keep you safe. Carry your weapons, look someone in the eye, keep that edge on you a little bit. Don't walk
Yeah.
around and just be la 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 la. Hey, eye contact everywhere you go. And that one lady said, well, that's just weird. I'm like,
No,
that's okay.
it's
You
not
want them to
weird.
think you're weird.
It's uncomfortable for women. It's one of the first
Yeah,
things we teach women in self-defense seminars is like you have to break this habit of looking like prey.
exactly.
Women tend
Yes.
to make themselves appear smaller. They'll avert their eyes. They'll look away. Like, I
Yep.
don't see that and you don't see me. That does not work. It was me
Exactly.
getting loud and big and yelling at
Hmm.
those guys and drawing attention to myself that made me
Yeah.
not an easy target, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
Because
feels
most of these
awkward
guys
for
want that.
women to do that, but it's
Well, it is.
necessary.
It is. And most attackers are looking for someone small, someone easy. They don't want to fight. All right. So they want it easy. So if you can be bigger, like what you said, you made yourself bigger. And that's perfect, man. And I don't understand. Well, I guess I do understand because women are more, don't you dare come through this phone and smack me. When I say this, but women have a nature of being more docile in essence. So that's why
Yeah.
they're a target. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so,
They're
but like
smaller,
you did.
weaker.
Hmm.
Well, those guys, their problem was I was wearing a jacket. If they would have seen my biceps, they would have thought differently.
Just stop and just start flexing. Hold on, damn girl, calm down with them guns, man. And they're fortunate enough you didn't have your weapon on you. You draw and shot them, man, two to the chest, and been on about your day, man. I commend you for being just a tough ass. You know what I mean, a badass. Now, do
Yeah.
you have people acting or treat you like you're this edgy woman, this woman? She's involved in all these masculine things. And she's that bitch and all that kind of stuff. Do you hear guys, treating you that way or talk to you that way?
It comes with the territory. People think it's a persona. And then
Mhm.
they meet me in person. They're like, oh no, this is who she actually is. Uh,
Yeah.
what you see on Instagram and Facebook, but that's me. I am a female that is, doing well in male dominated industries, and I feel like I'm allowed to be here. um
Yeah.
And if that makes me audacious, then so be it, you know. But I my goal is to hopefully inspire other women out there to be like, hey, you can be here too. And if you want to come learn, come learn from us. Like you're welcome to be here as well. You know, there are some guys out there who are intimidated, but those are the ones that don't really need to have around me in the first place. The guys
Exactly.
that support, who are supportive of me, they're not the ones talking shit. They're the ones always being like, "Hey, good job. Hey, that was really badass." They're the ones I can go to and ask questions. They're like mentors. They're
Yeah.
always trying to lift me up and be like, "Hey, don't forget who you are. Like you're supposed to be here. You're
That's
supposed to be
cool.
here."
That's cool. Well, on the other side of that, do you have guys that come to learn at the school? Because you're an instructor there. Do they say, I don't want to listen to her. She's a woman. She's not going to show me. Let me go talk to the guy over here. Do you see that a lot?
It's happened a couple of times. It's not so frequent now. There was there was one time we had a guy come in, and some people come in because they're just so full of ego and they feel like they need to dominate somebody to make themselves feel better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was asked to step in because one guy was being like really rough on a student
Mhm.
unnecessarily, working a drill. It wasn't sparring.
Yeah. It's
It
just a
was
drill being.
it was just a little drill, like
Yeah.
20% power. It's about good technique, not power and speed right now. And so I went over there to move that student out and work with the one that was being difficult. And I had to tell him a couple of times, like, hey, if you overcommit your power like that, I'm gonna be able to use it against you. You don't want to do that. So he softened, and then he went right back to giving me heavy power. And so I took him to the ground into an armbar on his chest,
Love
facing
it.
the grass. I was like, you see what I mean? And after that, he was ready to listen. So,
Love it. I love. Oh my God. Sorry. Sorry. Because I think of stuff like that. When you get dicks around, I just think it's funny. The guy's a dick. He needs to be put in his place. It's
yeah.
funny. That is
Yeah.
funny to me. Now, when you now let's jump around to something else here. Now, you're into shooting also, into firearms. Now, first, I'm gonna ask you, what's your favorite carry gun?
I love my Glock 19.
Glock. Yes.
it's tried and true,
Yeah.
It's the business. I feel like I could throw that gun in the ocean for a year, go back and get it, and it would still fire. I've
Yep.
run
It's a
thousands of
brick.
rounds. It can be
Yeah.
dirty and it will still work. It's my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I'm with you. You see, I have different guns, but the Glocks. I have so many different Glocks, and my carry is a 43X just because I just like it does what it needs to do. And
Mm-hmm.
all my friends, they have all the 6 hour, they have all these man, you need to get this, you need to do that. I was like, yeah, I can throw my gun on the ground and mine won't fire off. I can just pick mine up and get back into work. Yours is a
Yeah.
piece of crap, man. But anyway, everyone loves their
Yeah.
guns and stuff. So the Glock, okay. You keep going up a little notch on me now. Okay, I'll give you more props just
Excellent.
to get a little better. All right.
Yeah.
So how did that start with you with the guns?
It started. So my dad has always had a bunch of different firearms, and when he set up the range out in Bandera, I was like, I wanna come shoot. I have an interest in doing this, and so I was first shooting with my dad on his property, and then a friend of ours here in Austin, he's an instructor, and Tuhan Ray was like, hey, you need to connect with him. He does like a beginner's course. You can, and he'll advance you up like as you get more proficient. So I went and started training with him, King Webb, at Luling MMA out in Lockhart. Great guy, black belt in jiu-jitsu. He does Muay Thai also, and he's what is it? A CSAT instructor as well. So
Oh wow. Okay, yeah.
yeah. So he and
Yeah.
I became fast friends, and he took me through his shooting course, and I just became absolutely obsessed with it. Like I thought my dad was teaching me things. I went back and was teaching my father things,
Yeah.
and I was just shooting with King so much. It was happening like every week, and then I would go out to
Yeah.
the ranch and I'd be shooting out there sometimes all day.
I love it. Yeah. I
I
love it.
just picked it up super fast, and then I wanted to start shooting rifles, and so I ended up getting, a couple of ARs, and the obsession has not died yet.
That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. You got the trigger callus right there. I'm sorry, your left hand.
actually,
Your left hand.
actually, I do a little bit. It's funny.
Uh-huh. You got to barely touch that trigger. You'll get that feel, right? That's cool. That's cool. Now, are you an instructor in that also, or are
I am not.
just layman?
No,
Okay. Oh,
I
you're
don't
gonna
have any
become?
certifications. It would
Okay.
be fun. I have an interest in looking at doing some of the competitions. I think that'd be kind of fun, a fun
Yeah.
place to start just to sort of challenge myself. I was thinking about looking at doing the CSAT instruction, but I needed to get like my
Hmm.
time and grouping and stuff up
Yeah,
to a certain level. And you know, life gets in the way sometimes, and so that just kind of fell to the
I get it.
wayside. Right now, it's
I get
just
it.
I would just consider myself an enthusiast.
Okay, all right, that's
Yeah.
good. So you train a lot though. All the shooting you've been doing, man, that's pretty good. You should try. I don't know if you have or not. Do a shoot house. Have you done any shoot houses at all?
Mm-mm. No, but that sounds fun.
Girl, I'm telling you, you think you know how to shoot? It's an eye opener. So much fun. It is. It's one of those funnest things you can do.
You
Clearing
do like,
rooms and all that
yes, I
kind
was
of
gonna
stuff.
say room
Yeah,
clearing. Hmm. Yeah.
yeah, they're so
So
much
I
fun.
I have done a variation of that. So I did do a little bit of that with King, and then I had an opportunity. I wanted to learn more about the protection side of dog training, and so a friend of
Okay.
mine introduced me to a trainer that was on the north side of Austin who strictly does protection work. And when I went up there that day, it just so happened that there was so SWAT was there in the sheriff's office, and you know that scene from Step Brothers when they're like, "What's the one magazine that you'll masturbate to?" And they're like, "Good Housekeeping," and they say it
Yeah,
in unison, and they're like, "What's your
yeah,
favorite dinosaur?" "Velociraptor," and they're like,
yeah,
"Do we just become best friends?" So is that happened with the sheriff's office and SWAT? They were like, "Oh, you do
yeah.
martial arts? Oh, you like firearms? You want to go? You want to go shoot with us on the range?" So
That's
I ended up
cool.
training with them and getting to like run the dogs, and they did room clearing. We ran some patterns, so it was a lot of fun. I've gotten a little bit of exposure to it. I definitely want to do more.
That is cool, man. I tell you, I shot with some everybody. I shoot with anybody, and it's been funny though that the most guys, and I tell these guys, 'cause I have a lot of police officer friends and things, and it's like they don't get enough training. Most of them don't. You're in Texas, so they may get more training. I don't know, but Midwest and all that, they don't get a
Mhm.
lot of training. So I would take these guys and meet them at Alpha Range out in McHenry. I'd say, hey, meet me at the range this day, and we'll go and do some shooting and stuff because they always want to go shoot with me. And I would never shoot with them. I would watch them shoot, and it was just like, dude, how often do you train?
I
Oh,
know
I certify every year. I'm like, what do you
that's
mean?
not
This is your
enough.
life. Yeah, it's not enough. Man, but I had one guy go with me. He's a sniper out in Arlington Heights, I think it is. And he goes shoot with, and I thought it was like another guy. It was a friend of mine's fiance. I was just like, yeah, that's gonna be another guy. Let's go shooting, whatever. This cat knew his stuff, man. Because they come with all the gear and all the stuff. I'm like, yeah, they got all the gear. They don't know how to shoot. And I'm watching this cat go through it, and that dude was on it, man. I'm like, all right, all
Yeah.
right. I'll just give him a shout. His name is Obi. The guy is badass. And I'm like, how often do you train? He's like, every day. I'm like,
Mm.
all
See, I
right.
like
I'll give
that.
you no joke, man. No
Mhm.
joke. So, what's next for you? What's the next thing you're gonna tackle out there, girl?
Oh man, that's a good question. Really, I've just been growing the social media accounts. I run the school
Yeah,
page, my pages, the
yeah,
YouTube channel, um, promoting the Patreon on the PAR Academy and my account. I
yeah,
would really like to be able to do some seminars and more collaborations with other martial artists out there. So
yeah,
I have my sights set on that on the
yeah,
horizon. I have some people that have been kicking around some ideas with. So we're gonna making some plans to do that. Definitely.
yeah.
And if we can combine the firearms, with the blade work, that would be a lot of fun too.
Oh man, that'd be awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's one thing I never got into with blades. I know how we're like this. I'm basic at blades because we were taught basic things, but to watch what you guys do with these blades, and I have another friend that does the Filipino fighting sticks and all that stuff. I'm just like, man, I'm lost with a blade. You know what I mean? I know nothing. I would love to learn how to do more blades, man.
What is it that makes you feel like you're lost with it?
It's the coordination. I have great coordination, but to keep an eye on your blade, and it's just like you were saying in boxing. I can box. I know how to do that. I know how to do these certain things. But when it comes to a blade in there, I'm looking for my attack and my defense, and I just get all confused. You know what I mean? So I mean, I just want to take a blade. I'm done, right? It doesn't work that way, right? But all
No.
the spin around you guys are doing, and the catch and the push and the push and the catch,
A lot
that's
of
what
that
throws
stuff
me off.
is so that's flash for social media. When you're talking about things that are like in application for like self defense, you're not going to be doing all this flashy like tossing knives in the air, disarms and all
Yeah,
that.
well, I
If you
hope
get a
not. Yeah,
disarm, great, but you
yeah,
don't want to go chasing one. If you get
yeah.
positive control and it's there and you can take it, awesome. But if you're fussing trying to get it, you want to ditch that. Really,
Gotcha.
it's about you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 5 angles of attack. Those are
Okay.
all the ones. And for every thrust you have with the dagger, you have a slash. For every slash you have a thrust. So if I go in, I can comma cut out. I can go in, I
Okay.
can comma cut out. And so I've got all the lines on the clock that I can do slashes on, slash thrust, thrust slash.
Yeah.
And if you practice in a mirror, get a butter knife. You don't even need a real one, but you
Yeah.
practice thrusting at the top of your head and then slashing down, thrusting in and then
Okay.
slash back up that line. Then go to one
Okay.
o'clock, thrust, slash, thrust, slash back up the line, go to 2 o'clock. And then what you're going to start to see is, okay, this actually doesn't feel that difficult. Then change the
Okay.
grip, then go to reverse grip.
Okay.
Thrust, slash. And
Holy
then,
cow!
since
Just
you already
jeez.
understand boxing, when a punch comes in, like let's say somebody throws a jab, you're
Yeah.
gonna probably, are you left-handed or right?
Right-handed. Right-handed.
Okay,
So we're
perfect.
parrying.
So
Yeah.
so when you're boxing, right, you'd be parrying with your left hand when
Yeah.
that jab's coming in. So you got the blade in your right. Let's pretend that it's in forward grip. That jab comes in, I'm gonna parry it, and I'm gonna cut.
Okay.
I
See,
parry, I cut.
it sounds so simple, like they were saying with the dogs. You do it so easily. I'm like, that sounds so easy. Here's a knife. Ow! I stabbed myself. How did I do that? I can't do that stuff, man. But I would love to learn. I've always, like I said, I've done so many different martial arts, and I've been in different ones, black belts of different ones, and I love, you know, the self defense. So when it comes to, that's why I love firearms. You know, knives. I'm just like, all right. You know what it is? I think a part of it too. I don't want to get cut. And they say if you're in a
Mm.
knife fight, expect to get cut. So I've had a guy pull a knife on me before, and that was I wasn't scared of it because I pulled my pistol out, and I was just like, who's going to win this battle? You know what I mean? And he walked away, I walked away, and there was nothing that got into it. So,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I'm afraid of getting cut. Is that true? You're going to get cut anyway when it comes to knife fighting?
You know what? There's so many so much shit that I've heard, like you're gonna get cut if somebody pulls a
Yeah.
knife. That's not necessarily true, and I think
Okay.
if you go into an altercation with that mindset, you will get cut. But if you're
Oh,
thinking
good point.
I'm gonna win and get away, that's
Yeah.
more likely to happen. And now, if you're gonna get cut, you want to train so that you don't get cut like on the inside of your arm. You want to be able to shield yourself as best as
Okay.
possible. I think
Okay.
the percentages of knife attacks that happen, I think it's pretty low. I think it's
Okay.
somewhere between like 10 to 14%, might be even lower than that, the actual
Okay.
knife encounters that
Yeah.
happen, but the survivability rate's supposed to be pretty high. Begs the question, like, is there a point to training? Yeah, because what if you
Yeah.
fall into that percentage? Or what if,
Exactly.
you
Yeah, you're
know?
right.
I
You're
mean,
right.
it's better. I'm sure, like, when you're training jujitsu, you're not sitting there thinking, like, this person is going to beat me just because maybe they're a higher level or been training more than you. You
Right.
want to go in there and be like, nah, I'm about to
I've
give him
always
a
had an
run for his
attitude.
money, you
I always
know?
have an attitude. I'm gonna whip somebody's ass today, even though I'm tapping 27 times.
Yes, I think you have to have that, and you might get tagged a few times, but it's kind of like saying, you know, if you're going to do martial arts, it's sort of like, hey, if you're going to go swimming, you're going to get wet. It might happen, might
Yeah.
not happen.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
if you're afraid to go in there, chances
Yeah.
are you're probably going to end up being in that situation where you do freeze. You want to be able to
Yeah.
get positive control. You want to be able to not just block. You want to attack. So that's what we do
Yeah.
in Pikiti Tershikali. There's no blocks. It's all attack,
Okay.
counter and
Okay.
counter offense. Yeah. So
See,
we
you
go
still
in and destroy.
every time you do your hand like this, I'm like, I've been to poke my eye out or something with the blades and trying to do all this stuff, and I'm like, where's my pistol? I mean, I'm gonna shoot someone in the knee and walk out the door. You
But
know?
what if you're in super close quarter and you don't train doing like your center axis relock drills and like speed rock drills, like where you're drawing from
Oh yeah.
concealment
You
off your
draw from the
waist.
hip. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I
I
love
do those
doing
a lot.
those.
I
Very
do those
John
all the
Wick.
time. Yeah.
Love doing
Yeah.
it, bringing it up, pa
Yeah.
pa pa. Me too. But
Yeah.
if you don't practice doing that on a regular
That's
basis,
true.
it's going to be quicker to draw a blade.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
And you can
it
draw
can
a
be, and I
blade,
believe you're right.
you can draw your blade and your firearm at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah, I
maybe
get it.
what if the gun jams? You know?
Yeah.
What
Good
if something
point.
happens and you try to clear the malfunction and that guy's already on? You can't use the firearm. Oh, but the blade's already in your hand.
All right. I get
So
it. I get it.
mhm.
That's okay. I'm gonna beat him with my gun. With the butt of
You
my gun.
could. You certainly could.
But I get what you're saying, though. You're 100% right, because in any self-defense situation, it's never going to happen A, B, C. It's never.
Mm-mm.
I tell anyone who has, like when I used to have my own martial arts school, I should tell the students, I used to ask the question, who's been into a real fight? And most people say they haven't been, and most people haven't been to a real fight. And the
Right.
ones that has been, I'd say, how was it? And they would say it's chaos. It is. It's
It
controlled
is.
chaos. It's not going to be like you hit me, I hit you, you block, I throw. It's just
Mm-mm.
chaos, And the same thing with the knives. So when I see you doing this, that
Mhm.
just makes me go back to OJ. I'm running back in the day. Get no way. Oh my gosh, girl. So let's jump. Are you going to write a book? I think you should. I think you should. I think you should. I'm telling you that right now because you have a story. I think a story. I think everyone has a story. Don't get me wrong. I think everyone has a story, but I think a unique story is, especially being a woman. And not just there's tons of women in the male-dominated sports and things, but a story going from depression to being victorious. Start jumping off the cliff in essence, or starting your business and running with it, not having that safety net. Those are inspiring to people, man. They really are.
Thank
Write a
you.
book.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, I, I think the what it comes down to is I think women should train martial arts. I think they should carry an equalizer or force multiplier and learn how to use them. Not just have them and carry them around with this false sense of safety, but actually training. Really, I have to attribute that being a huge part of my willingness to push forward into the unknown. Because it's so easy to just to stay with familiar hells instead of
Yeah.
seeking out, unknown heavens. Maybe it's just me. I'm a
Ah,
hopeless romantic like that. But I want to know
yeah.
what's out there. I want to believe that there's a purpose on my life and I'm supposed to help people, leave them better than I found them. And I think that most people are supposed to do that. And to your point earlier, you're saying, well, they're afraid to follow that calling.
Yeah.
It's if they got willing to sit down and ask themselves, well, why do I have this fear? Where's self reliance failing me? And what would the ideal version of me have me do instead? And then do
Yeah.
that. Not say, I
Yeah.
should do this, but I must do this. Like if you're in should, you're just going to should all over yourself. You need to move
Yeah.
into must. It has to
Yeah.
be, I need this thing to be okay. Need this thing. Burn the boats. Take a
Yeah.
chance,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, girl, that's good stuff. Hey, write a book. I'm gonna steal all your stuff. I'm gonna put a book out. By Tony Jones, $1,000,000. But I just think I love stories like this. I really do. And like I said before, I love the backstory. I love to see how people got where they are because we could look at someone and we have all these preconceived notions of how they got there. We have all these things. Oh, they were lucky, or they just did this. But no, once you hear someone's story, you can relate to them more. And you can put it in you and say, I can do that too. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool, girl. See, I
Yeah.
got me
Thank
started,
you.
man.
Yeah.
Got me started. Write a book. Anyway, girl, but this has been awesome. I'm glad you took the time to do this with us today. I mean, I know we've been bouncing around a little bit. I know you're busy out there, riding dogs and shooting people as you do it with your knives, but all that stuff. But I appreciate you taking the time to come on with us. But before we get you out of here, give us all your contact information, how people can find you, how people can see your brand new website, how can they
Mm,
support you, how can they do all the things.
wonderful. So if you're looking for the martial arts stuff, it's going to be Ninja Dog Trainer on Instagram. Facebook, it's Tiffany Trixtr, TiffanyTrixtr. And then if you're looking for me for dog training, it's positivelytiffanyDogtraining.com. And positively is spelled PAWSITIVELY. Positively, Tiffany.
I get it. I get it. That's awesome, girl. That's pretty cool, guys. But hey, this has been Tiffany Trixtr coming on with us. And guys, look up all her stuff. Find her. You can see she's a great lady out there, kicking ass, doing what she needs to do. You need to learn from her and all that kind of fun and good stuff. But Tiffany, I appreciate you more than you know. And thanks for taking the time coming on. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Tony.
Lines on my face like cracks in the road. Still chasing fire through the years half slow. Weights on my back, sweating.